In the ancient land of Israel, long before the rise of great kings and mighty warriors, there lived a boy whose life seemed ordinary, quiet, and almost invisible to the world around him. His name was David. To most people, he was simply the youngest son of a shepherding family, someone who spent his days watching sheep on lonely hillsides. But behind those simple days, God often shapes his greatest servants in secret. David's journey did not begin on a battlefield or in a royal court. It began in fields where the only audience was sheep, wild animals, and the God who watched over him. Day after day, David learned what many overlook, the strength that comes from faithfulness in small things. When the sun rose each morning, he led his flock to water. When storms rolled across the sky, he guided them to safety. And when dangers emerged from the shadows, David stood firm, trusting God to give him courage. These moments were not witnessed by crowds. Yet they were the training grounds for a strength far greater than muscle or talent. They were shaping David's character, molding his heart, and forging a deep confidence in God that would one day carry him through impossible challenges. While David was growing in the quiet hills, the nation of Israel was struggling. Their first king, Saul, was losing his way. His heart drifted far from the God who had appointed him. Israel needed a new leader, one who would trust God wholeheartedly. And so, God sent the prophet Samuel to the house of Jesse, David's father, to choose the next king. When Samuel arrived, Jesse brought out his sons, strong, impressive, battle-ready young men. Anyone would have assumed that one of them would be chosen as king. But as each brother stood before Samuel, God made it clear, outward strength was not what he was looking for. The Lord searches the heart. Only after all the older brothers were rejected did Jesse mention the youngest, who was still tending sheep. And when David entered, dusty, sunburned, and likely unaware of what was happening, God whispered to Samuel that this was the one. In that moment, Samuel anointed David with oil, symbolizing God's choice and God's power resting on him. It was not a public coronation. There was no crown, no cheering crowd, no royal garments. Just a quiet act done in obedience, marking David for a destiny far bigger than he could comprehend. This was the beginning of the hidden anointing, the unseen strength that would change the course of history. After this moment, David did not immediately become king. Instead, he returned to the sheep fields, continuing the same work as before. But something had changed. The Spirit of God was now with him in a special way. His heart began to burn with a new boldness, and a deeper sensitivity to God's presence. Soon David's life took an unexpected turn. He was brought into the service of King Saul to play music that calmed the king's troubled spirit. His skill with the harp opened a door he never asked for. And even in the palace, David remained humble, serving quietly yet faithfully. The hidden anointing guided every step, even when others around him didn't recognize the significance of his presence. But the moment that brought David into the public eye came in the valley of Elah. Israel was locked in a standstill with the Philistines, whose champion, a giant named Goliath, taunted the armies of Israel day after day. His size, strength, and reputation were enough to strike fear into even the bravest soldiers. No one dared face him. And then David arrived, sent by his father to bring food to his brothers. What he saw shocked him not because of the giant's strength, but because of the fear that had paralyzed God's people. David had spent years seeing God's faithfulness in the wilderness. He had faced lions and bears, and each time he saw that God gave him victory. To him, Goliath was not a monster to fear, but another opportunity for God to show his power. David stepped forward, not with armor or weapons of war, but with complete confidence that God would fight for him. His victory over Goliath was not the result of skill with a sling, but the result of the hidden anointing, God's strength working through an obedient heart. The stone David launched struck the giant, and the battlefield fell silent as Goliath collapsed. Israel rejoiced, and David instantly became known throughout the nation. But the world only saw the surface. They saw a shepherd boy defeat a giant. They did not see the years of preparation in the hills, the late-night songs of worship, and the quiet moments of faith and courage. David's life after this moment was not easy. Though celebrated by the people, he soon faced jealousy and danger. King Saul's insecurity turned into hatred, and David was forced to flee for his life. He hid in caves, wandered through deserts, and lived as a fugitive for years. Yet even in these difficult times, the hidden anointing continued to guide him. Instead of becoming bitter, David grew wiser. Instead of seeking revenge, he practiced mercy. Every hardship became another opportunity for God to mold his character. The wilderness that once trained him to be a shepherd now trained him to be a king. When David finally took the throne years later, he was not the same boy Samuel had anointed. He was a man shaped by faith, refined by struggle, and empowered by the Spirit of God. His victories, his leadership, and his legacy all flowed from the strength God had placed within him long before the world recognized it. This story reveals an important truth: God often does his greatest work in hidden places. The most powerful anointing is not always visible. It doesn't require applause, recognition, or immediate results. It grows in moments of consistency, obedience, and trust, when no one else is watching. David's secret strength was not his aim, his courage, or his talent. It was his relationship with God. It was the anointing that settled on him before he ever stood on a battlefield or held a crown. It was the confidence that God was with him, even in the unseen. And this message speaks to us too. Sometimes the most important seasons of life are the ones that feel unnoticed. The times when we face challenges that no one else knows about. The times when we choose integrity even when it costs us something. These moments are not wasted, they are shaping us, preparing us, and building a strength that will carry us into our purpose. Just as David learned to trust God in the fields before he ever stepped on a battlefield, we too grow strongest in the places where no spotlight shines. And when the time comes for us to face our own giants, we will discover that the strength we need has been growing within us all along. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you want more stories like this.